Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's My Games Recruitment Show, where, as you can see, we're going to be talking about how you can find and attract more great candidates. Now, joining us today, we, of course, have the magnificent Mike Ames, who seems to have lost a fight with a lawnmower.
I don't want to talk about it. A breakdown of communication with my barber. Let's leave it at that. I wanted a 5 and a 3. I got a 2 all over. Whatever. They're just
Easy
numbers.
mistake. Easy mistake to make. Easy mistake to make. And we are joined by our expert today, which is Dave Jenkins. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. And I'm absolutely not qualified to talk about hair either. So,
I didn't like to say anything, but
just move on swiftly with that. Move on swiftly. So, Mike, can you tell us why we have invited Dave to the show today, please?
Sure, I can. Wave is a recruitment tech company, to put it bluntly, and all the stuff they promote or sell is to do with increasing candidate attraction, which is fine. But the reason I've asked Dave to come on board is he happens to have cornered a little market around job boards. That's his area of expertise. And I know a lot of people out there use job boards, obviously. It's a thing. And so there, to get the most out of them, it just seemed common sense to me to invite the industry expert. And that's why we have Dave. So no pressure, Dave, obviously, but that's why you're here.
None at all.
No. Let's play it cool. Let's play it cool. So I think we just launch straight into it, Dave. Everybody here is coming because they want to get more value from their job boards. What kind of things can they do to sort of do that?
Well, it's such a hot topic, isn't it? Job boards, they're great. They're not, they're not performing, or they should be performing. The fact is, job boards are still the go-to place for candidates when they're looking for a new role, and for clients when they need to recruit. Their best bet is to get them from the job board. So whether you like them or hate them, they're the best place for you to go in order to make more placements, to hire more people. So the challenge, I think, in terms of getting more value from them, lies a lot of the time in the relationships with the job boards. I think if you can create a good relationship to understand how that job board works, then you can start to make some quick wins.
When you say how that works, are you saying what its expertise is, or what it does best, or how it gets the people for you? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I suppose just rewinding a little bit, there are a lot of job boards out there, and some will work for some industries better than others. So each job board will have its own strength and weakness, I guess. So, really take some time to understand where that job board has a strength. Speak to them. They're not all the same. Some of them will come across the same, but they'll have different sectors that they're better in. Some will work well for niche roles. Some will work well if you're hiring volume. So understand where they sit in the market first off, and then match that with the types of roles that you're recruiting for. So don't kind of lump them all in as one.
So are you suggesting that, first of all, people should spend time actually talking, if they can speak to somebody at the job boards? I'm not sure how easy that is these days, to see what they think. Obviously, they're going to say it's great at everything because, that's the deal. But also to measure the responses that they get. So to not just become reactive, to whack things out there and then on to the next and on to the next, but to actually put it out and record what they get back for the effort that they put in, the money that they spend, to build up a picture of where the value for money really is.
Yeah, I think, yes, we can't get away from the fact that you speak to any job board and, they're going to say that they're the best at everything. But actually, a lot of job boards now are a little bit more upfront than that. It's not as bad as what it used to be. Nearly all the job boards have got really, really good client success teams now as well, whose job it is to basically help you get the most out of their particular board. So definitely listen to those guys and have a conversation with how to optimize, the ads that you're doing. So, try and see them as a bit more of a partner rather than someone that's just trying to upsell you and make you buy more and putting the price up and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I know it's difficult sometimes, but that's where trying to, you know, having that relationship with them is important.
Could I ask on that? How realistic is it for say a small SME, not a big business at all, to have contracts with more than one job board or several job boards? I mean, is that economically viable, do you think?
It's becoming less so now because, you know, it's been well publicized about price increases, and a lot of job boards have come under a bit of fire for putting their prices up. So it's not quite as viable as what it used to be to have every single job board. I know for a while, for some, it's a bit of a badge of honor to have every job board that's out there. But, you know, really, it's for an SME, that's going to be quite tough. So that's where you need to understand, spend some time, you know, speak to companies like us or others, or do your own research around all the boards that are out there, and see which are right for you.
You have done some research into this space, haven't you? I think you were saying off air. What have you done around that?
So we're just about to release our annual report, which covers pretty much everything you want to know about job boards, posting ads, what to post, when to post, how much to post. So pretty much everything based on data that we've collected from last year.
Does it also point out which job boards are better at certain types of jobs, or doesn't it go down to that level?
It does, yes. We've got, I think it's 17 different industries that we've broken it down to. Might be more. I think it's 17 around which job boards produce what applications in what areas. So yeah, you can kind of drill it down a little bit.
Okay, so we'll come to how people can get that. I presume they can just contact you for it, but we'll cover that off at the end. Yeah. So people, I presume it's free report, is it? I guess
it is actually. We have a free version, which is a light version. We've also got a paid for version, which is a full 100 odd page report, giving you kind of inside leg measurements and everything. So people
can start with the light version and see how they do, can't they?
That's it. Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. So in a second, Dave, I really want to narrow down into the advert itself, because I imagine that's where a lot of the power of a job board comes from, the actual specific advert. But we have had a question before we get into that from Gavin, which is, what percentage of candidates do you think are actually on job boards? Because obviously some people don't go on them and they're more headhunty. So what would you say works out with that?
Don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, but you look at some of the traffic numbers that the job boards have. You know, take someone like take Indeed, Total Jobs, CV Library, Read, you know, all of the major job boards, and you look at the type of traffic that they attract. It's a significant number of people within the UK.
I've seen a number on this. It's from America, so I don't know how relevant it is, and I'm doing this from memory, but it was something like 19% of people in America are actively looking for a new role. Another 20 some odd percent are open. You know, if you want to talk, then no, 31%, sorry, are open. If you want to talk, then hey, yeah, let's do it. And of the 19%, and again, I can't remember, it was 80 something, say 87%, it was 80 something, are on a job board somewhere. Now,
I was just going to say, I mean, those numbers sound about right. But also, you know, when you look at LinkedIn, you know, the way that jobs are advertised on LinkedIn, either from a feed or an actual advert, you see adverts popping up when you're browsing, you know, whatever other websites that you're browsing. So you don't actually have to be on a job board to start seeing ads that are, you know, sort of luring you into their actual job board. So it's not necessarily a case of people sit on job boards all day, every day. You know, they are attracted in, clickbaited in, if you like, to something that they've seen that they
I think it's just the accepted place, isn't it? If for certain types of jobs, if you're a top end search, I suspect that none of those people are going to be on the job boards, or very few of them. But excuse me, and very few of my search clients use the job boards, I have to say. But if you're an average person looking for a job, you're going to look on there to see what's around, and you're going to register probably, I would think.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So I'm aware of time, and I know that this next section has a lot of power in it. So this is why I want to give it a bit more, as much time as I possibly can, Dave. So we spoke earlier about there are certain things that people can do that make adverts work really well, and there are certain things that people can do that can sort of not make them work so well. So can we talk about what makes a great or a bad advert?
Yeah, I'll try and cover this as succinctly as I can. But if you making the assumption that you've chosen the right job board to advertise on, because this next section will not make any difference if you've put an advert on the wrong job board. So making the assumption that you've chosen the right place, and also then there's some things that are really useful to know about what candidates in general, how candidates behave. So we see most applications happening at the start of the week. So to start to give you an idea of when to post a job, if you post a job at the start of the week, you'll tend to see more applications because that's when candidates are more active. Most applications are received within 48 hours of the job going out as well. So again, if you're thinking about when to post, have some of that in your mind. Now, with the ad itself, we see, and this is not an exact science because you can write the perfect ad, put it in the perfect place, and still you're not getting the people that you want. So we have to kind of go on percentages here. There's no guarantees, but most adverts perform best when they're somewhere between 250 to 300 words long. Most adverts perform best when you have a salary. I mean, you see it's an obvious one, and it's something that we all sometimes say, yes, we should have. It makes a difference. So you're getting the right level of candidate. So, you're not having an awkward conversation later on down the line when it comes to a salary negotiation.
Can I ask at that point, Dave, if you don't mind, does that also apply for temp rates and contract rates? If you put a number on there with the amount of money that you're prepared to stump up per hour or per day or whatever the rate is that the same as putting salary?
I think it's completely across the board because candidates have, candidates are people just like us. We've got outgoings, we've got mortgages, we've got everything that is being paid, and we need to know that if we're going to apply for a job, we need to budget. Are we going to have excess, or are we going to have less than we think? So it just becomes something that candidates are no different to any of us, and that it's nice to know before I apply for this job what's going to happen in my own personal finance if I get this job or not. So salary is really, I know sometimes it's sensitive because you've got other people in the business that might be on more or less or whatever it is. So if even if you're just including a range, keep that in mind as well. Just give them some sort of clue as to where it's going to,
some guidance.
Make sure from an advert what you've got in your ad, and I won't get into the structure of everything because we haven't got time, but use a real job title so that it's not some strange job title. It helps job boards index that job and show it to the right person. Make sure that you're including the skills and experience that you want and you expect them to have. Again, let them self-select if they want. And we talked kind of off air around this as well, but company culture. So if you can, really include something around what it's like in that company, because the employer brand is so different. So many companies are so different.
On that, again, we're quite keen on research, as people know. Part of our job is to research, so our clients don't need to. And a couple of pieces of research, one we did and one I read, plagiarized, if you like. No, sharing the group, really. Yeah.
Sharing.
When we did some research yonks ago, and I still think it's valid now, but essentially the result of this was that candidates would accept a less than perfect job if it was a great company, but they're much, much less likely to accept an offer of a great job at an average or poor company. So, and that I can't remember the figures, it was a long time ago, but it was quite stark, really, that you'd think, no, it's the job they want. Everything's about the job, really. And these days, it just isn't. And there was a piece of research that we were just looking at before we came online from Career Builder, an American company, that said 64% of people will research that company. And if they don't find what they're looking for online, or they don't like what they see, they won't go for the job. And I think that's quite sobering, because basically what that means is, in your advert, you have to say enough to get them interested in the culture and the style of company and what it does and where it's going and its personality, its flavor, if you will. Because if the flavor isn't to their taste, the chances are they won't really be interested in the job, or they will be until they understand what that flavor is, and then and then it's game over. So I think it's a really important thing to think about. This is what we want, this is what we can offer, and this is the company itself. It's got 3 ways, not 2.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of points in that you're right. Companies now, or candidates, want to know, as you said, what that company stands for, what their sort of ethics are, what their values, that kind of CSR kind of banded around a little bit, but actually a lot of it's a real thing that candidates are actively put off by if a company isn't it isn't to their kind of ethical barometer, if you like. And then there's no point also writing an advert that looks great but is completely different to the actual reality of that business. If it's a professional services firm, then there's no point writing an advert that sort of talks about it being maybe relaxed and informal and whatever.
Take it to work and
people so be accurate, be real in terms of the ad that you're writing. Don't just copy and paste a job description.
It's worth saying on this, I think there are 2 really important documents in the whole of the sales cycle. The one is an advert, if you're using that to get your people. The other one is the CV. It's a sales document, and both of those sometimes people don't necessarily give enough time to. It's like, put it together, get it out there, or let's get the CV across. But the quality of the CV, and I've had, by the way, 2 instances in my career when I was on the other side of the fence. People were sending me CVs to look at for contractors mainly, actually. And you soon get to realize that the quality of the CV, the way it's written, the information it gives and the way it gives it, massively important. It's a sales document. And I think the same is true for adverts, actually.
Yeah, I think, it is around the quality, isn't it? Because what we really want as a client, is that we want a brilliant candidate. And if we wait an extra day, sometimes we feel like we want that person straight away, but actually what we really want is someone that's going to be perfectly matched to the business. So
sorry, we've had a couple of comments, and I want to move on because we've got a couple of other things to cover. So we spoke about LinkedIn earlier, and Martin said a part of the benefit of job boards versus LinkedIn is that not always everyone has their contact details on LinkedIn, but you can often find them on a CV on a job board historically, even if not actively. Therefore, they're a useful resource to have, which is an interesting point of view from people. And then we've also had Swati say, job adverts should be a mix of culture, values, and talk about a person's specifications. Most of the times as recruiters, we focus only on the role specs rather than on the person specs, which is pretty much what you were just saying, Dave, I think.
So yeah, very good point, yeah.
I think that's a really good summary.
I know we've got to move on, Kirsty.
Very quickly, Michael.
If people have got a moment or two just to go back and watch the show that we did on ADA, adverts should be ADA. Grab attention, build interest, create desire, call to action at the end. ADA, ADA, ADA.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I think a lot of people, when they think job boards, they think like tech, that the way to make a job board work better for them, or to get more use out of it, or to get the power from it, is tech related. So Dave, what's your opinion on that?
So it's quite a divisive subject, isn't it? Especially with with AI and the kind of launch of a lot of different AI products coming onto the market now. So tech should be used, I think, to do a lot of the kind of the heavy lifting around the recruitment. Recruitment is very much a people-led industry. I'm not, lots of people say that, and it's true. So I think tech can be used to actually facilitate a lot of the stuff that you're not doing when you're not talking to candidates or talking to clients. From a job board perspective, I think it's really useful to use the data to understand, as I said before, when candidates are active, when they're applying for jobs, to put the right job in front of them at the right time. So I think that's really really good.
Just on that point there, because that's money. That's all about money to me. And whilst you can't necessarily negotiate with the job boards, although if you've got any tips on that, Dave, we'll take them in a moment or two, but I'm not sure how open they are to negotiation. What you can certainly do is make sure that you maximize the return on the investment that you are forced to make. And this granularity around the data of when to publish and how to publish and where to publish seems to me to be, as it becomes more and more expensive, more and more important to make sure that whilst the cost has gone up, so has your value. So your value for money stays the same as it ever was. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely about getting the ROI that you expect and you need. And so using the data to post a job, 12 hours later, because in 12 hours time, more candidates will be active. The classic one that we always see is posting jobs at the weekend, is when when you have the least amount of applications at the weekend, unless it's like a shift related role, but most typically. So understanding if you post a job on a Saturday versus you post a job on a Monday, you're going to get significantly better results on a Monday. That relates back to making a placement, to making a fee, relates back to that very decision that you made not to post on a Saturday. So it's things like that technology and data now show us when you can improve your odds. Again, nothing is guaranteed, but you're constantly trying to improve the odds in which you're going to find that great candidate.
Forgive my ignorance on job boards, and I can see Kirsty just doing the thing that she does, but in terms of the tech, the job boards provide certain amounts of data, but do you need stuff to sit on top of that? Is that what you're saying here?
Well, I don't want to get into a kind of a wave tracker sales pitch, but no. Understanding and monitoring, job boards have this data as well, but we will look at when people are applying for jobs in certain industries and make recommendations accordingly. Going back to what I said right at the start, is if you don't have something like Wave Tracker, you can still speak to the job boards and have that relationship with them, because they'll know what's happening for their particular job boards. They'll say, hey, we see a lot of traffic on a Tuesday afternoon, for example.
But however you do it, you should really be finding this data and acting upon it, is what you're saying to us. That's the message.
Exactly that. Take some time to just understand, and that's what I mean. See them as a partner, see them as a provider of making placements, not as someone that just takes money out of your bank account every month, like I don't know, like your energy bill or whatever it is, because you can significantly maximize the results of the performance if you have a good relationship with them.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so the last sort of thing that I want to bring up with you, John, is this, job boards.
Did you call him John?
I did call him John because I'm reading the comments. So John is commenting in the comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, that could be John. I can,
I'm
my
so
middle
sorry.
name's James, so John, James,
I'm so sorry. It's been a long week. Okay, I'm so sorry, Dave. So job boards aren't cheap, and we are very aware of that. Do you have any tips for getting more adverts, sort of for less money, as it were, or getting more bang for your buck, as it were?
Yeah, it's sadly I haven't got a silver bullet.
No, didn't think you would have.
I don't. So a few things that you can do. I mean, really, actually, what you can do is not spend more than you need to, is probably a better way of doing it. You can use media buyers and as we are, you can save a little bit here and there. Not normally what as much as people want, but you can save a bit there. But really what we say and recommend to clients is work out how much you actually need across the course of the year. All job boards generally work across a 12-month period. So try not to buy more than you actually need. We have had a lot of instances where clients can sometimes buy, you can get almost seduced by a cheaper unit rate. If you buy more, it will cost this per advert. So you end up buying more, and sometimes you over exaggerate on how much you're going to grow in that year. So you end up with a surplus at the end. and sometimes you can lose that surplus. So of course, whatever unit rate you paid is all out the window, because half of them have been thrown out at the end of the year. So what we're trying to recommend is almost under purchase. If you're not sure, be cautious, and then you can top up throughout the course of the year. Now, topping up sometimes means that you have to pay a little bit more per unit, but it's kind of a safer way to negate having too much at the end. And the other thing is sometimes you can use all your credits and things and jobs that you've bought, but you find in the last month you've got 3,000 jobs left. So suddenly you just start posting everything that you've got, and you're sort of artificially posting more jobs than you need to, just simply to kind of use them up. So, again, really understand about what you're trying to budget.
So less isn't necessarily more, but less is smart, really.
I think so. You can always buy more in the year, and it's going to cost you 10-15% extra per job, but you're not worrying about losing out. I mean, if you get it spot on, brilliant. But I would probably say underbuy a little bit. And then the other thing is, don't really understand about what uses a job credit. We've had instances where clients have been either editing jobs or refreshing jobs and not realizing that that's taken another one of their jobs, and they get 6 months in and they've got none left, and they've found out that just changing that job title, that took another credit. Specifically on CV database access as well, that catches a lot of people out. So really understand what is taking a credit and what isn't, and communicate that to your consultants, so they're as part of the training, they know exactly what is happening. So
okay. Fantastic.
Like that.
Thank you very much, Dave. So we have had a couple of comments, and I'm going to prove to you that there was somebody called John commenting. So somebody who I can't see who it is posted that they use those total jobs which has Mahiba, so which has an extension on LinkedIn which should help them find the details, which John was commenting on, asking questions, and now he's laughing because I referenced him instead of you, Dave. So I'm sorry.
Is that Dave DaCosta you're talking about there?
Yeah, Dave DaCosta and John Jenkins. And then we've had another comment here that I'd like your opinion. So I think recruiters need to use AI-based tools optimally, like a lot of filtering and funneling options as per the person's specs. And they think that gives you a better pool of candidates. Do you agree on that?
I think I would use AI to try and help you speak more to candidates. So if it does help, strip out some of the actual information from the CV, start to pass them so you can understand what skills they've got. Absolutely do that. Use tech AI to maximize the time that you can, generally do what most recruitment businesses are good at, which is talking to companies, talking to candidates, building relationships, and let the tech and the AI do all the other, the other part, whether or not it's sourcing contact details, or whether or not it's kind of passing CVs. Use that. Don't use the tech to communicate with candidates. I don't think we want
that personal element of it.
Yeah, I think so. We don't respond.
You gain something, but you lose a lot more, don't you? Definitely.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Fantastic. So, guys, I think we've come to the end pretty much in a second. Now, Dave, why am I've got John in my head now. I'm so sorry. I know it's Dave.
I'll rename myself. John Jenkins.
It's a good job it's my show and not yours, Kirsty, is all I can say.
So in a second, Dave, we're going to come to you and find out your top tip for basically getting the most out of job boards as we can. But before then, Mike, next week we have a Mars Show favourite coming.
We have our old friend, yes, Carl Swansbury's coming back of Rycroft Lenton. Carl's his firm but it does lots of things, but one of the things it does really well is buy and sell recruitment companies. He sold my second recruitment business to Harvey Nash, did a very good job. But he's going to come and talk about this valuation and selling. Now, you might say, I'm not interested because I'm not looking to sell my business anytime soon. Well, there are two good times to think about selling your business and preparing for it. Number one is day one of your business. And if you miss that, number two is now. You cannot prepare soon enough to gradually ease your business into a position where it's most valuable and most attractive. and Carl's going to come on and talk about that. So three basic things really. First of all, how do you value a business? That's always an interesting one. Secondly, how can you boost its value and make it more attractive? And thirdly, well, when should you start to do things if you're nowhere near a sale? So come on down. Let's have a really good show with Carl at the helm. So it's going to be great.
It is always a great show. Okay, Dave. Now, as I said, we've had a lot of information today and you've been really valuable. Thank you so much. But if somebody were watching this and they were thinking the one thing that you want them to take away from today's show, what would you say that is?
Say, don't take your time. Don't rush posting your ads. Really take on board some of the things that you want to have on your actual ad, the salaries, the company culture. Don't think that I've got to post this job in the next 3 seconds or I'm going to lose out on all those amazing candidates. Spend a bit of time just making sure it's right and it's being posted to the right place. And I think you'll get a better response if it's posted in 10 minutes time or whatever it is. So don't rush to kind of try and get the ad out there. That would be the number one thing I think.
Quality over speed is what you're saying to us there.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So with that and some gentle mocking from the audience for the John Ames recruitment show there. Thank you very much, whoever that is. Thank you.
Well,
I would like.
I don't know whether that counts.
It does. I don't think it does in this. But thank you so much to everybody for watching and for commenting, and they're throwing me off my game. But I would like to say a huge thank you to Dave for being here today. You've added a lot of value and I really, really appreciate that.
And I'd echo that. And thank you, John, as well for being on there. Stay on the line for a minute now, if you can, Dave, while we finish off. And we'll just have a little
Just one thing, Dave, if anybody wants to talk to you perhaps about getting the research that you've got, the best thing to do is for them to contact you on LinkedIn. Just connect with you on LinkedIn and mention that they came from today's show.
Yeah, get in touch. And then, I can.
Freebie, get in there. Why not?
Fantastic. Okay, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Ooh, I'm off my game. Look, I'm off my game.